going on, everybody? Welcome in to the North End Podcast, episode 165. My name is Zach Graham, your host here in the North End, joined, as always, by my good buddy. He's on record as my best friend. His name is Ian Michaud, and we call him E. He's sitting here, a suddenly stormy Austin, Texas. So I think things have calmed down around you. I could hear that rain coming down when we jumped on the recording. So I see you're staying dry, right? Everything. How you feeling, man? It's been a action-packed weekend of Leagues Cup that we have just got to sit back and enjoy as spectators.
It's been a fun weekend, yet I'm still a little, bummed at our draw here. You win a group and your reward is going to Los Angeles to play LAFC. You're catching me while I'm dry, but I did get caught out in this monsoon. I was walking the dog and it just hit us like that. And Moochie is not a fan of the rain at all. So usually we're taking leisurely walks, going about our business. He's very calm. But as soon as that rain hits, he's just dragging me, trying to get me out of there and everything like that. But we got absolutely hammered. My roommate couldn't even get his own shirt off his back because it was just suctioned on with rain and everything like that. So had to give him a quick undress, give him a hand there. But dude, I'm still excited about this matchup, and I'm still a big fan of Leagues Cup, even though it's not a perfect tournament here. There are some things that we got to work through, some growing pains. I think we talked about it a little bit a couple episodes back, that this thing's not perfect and every competition has to evolve and grow and things like that. So still going through the growing pains there, but ready to get into it. And I've never felt better about facing LAFC than I do at this very moment with how we look and the new players that we have in tow. So let's get after it.
Yeah, we'll preview everything surrounding this match Wednesday night out there in Los Angeles. That time, as of Sunday afternoon, still to be announced. Because again, I guess you got to finish out this group stage, which I believe goes all the way until Tuesday. I think we'll know kickoff time well before then. This Leagues Cup, baby.
Yeah, I thought it wrapped up tonight. I saw a bunch of games on the docket.
Yeah, there is a large slate here tonight. I think one actually just kicked off at like 3 this afternoon. I think that was the Atlanta match, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, a couple games tomorrow night and then just one on Tuesday. I want to say it's like New England and Nashville or something. But Leagues Cup, it's the wild, wild west out here. Got one piece of news to clean up. We will talk last business day, a match to recap, a match to preview, and check in on the best keeper in the world. But before we get into episode 165, just want to remind all of you listening or watching that the best way to support the show is to download the audio version of this episode wherever you get your podcasts, and those podcast platforms that have the little, you slide on the automatic download. You can do that for the North End Podcast, continue supporting and not even have to think about it in the future. If you want to go that extra mile, rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcast. That helps us grow the show, as does hitting the subscribe button. If you're watching on the YouTube, you can hit the notification bell to know when a live stream pops up or a new episode goes live. And of course, on this episode, hit the thumbs up, like the video, help us battle the YouTube and Leagues Cup overlords. Atone for your sins, wash yourselves clean in the waters of the North End. Real quick, we talked about Malik Sanogo, the 20-year-old U.S. international striker that was rumored to have offers on the table from Austin and Columbus and New England and some other unnamed MLS clubs. Now, Sanogo reportedly on trial with Angers in France. And Angers just promoted to Ligue 1 after finishing, I believe, second in the second division last season. So that makes a lot of sense to me. If Sanogo can go catch on with a team that's going up to the French first division, more power to him. So looks like on to the next one probably here for Austin, and 10 days left in this summer transfer window. So if something's going to happen for our favorite team, it's going to be soon.
Yeah, it was fun while it lasted. That's for sure. But I still am of the mindset, still maintaining that Roto is searching, looking, trying to find anything to bring in here to bolster our roster. in crunch time now for sure, like you mentioned, with these 10 days left. So fingers crossed that we're going to get a bit of an upgrade here at some position. And, you know, I'm still in the camp that one of these center backs is going to be on the move, whether it's intra-league or if we're trying to sell somebody. We'll see what it is, but we'll get there, and my faith has not waned.
Well, let's talk a little bit, I guess, about last night, right? Because in the midweek episode, we were, of course, on our high horse celebrating winning West Group 1 over Pumas and Rayados, and we knew that we still could face any of the three opponents out of West Group 7, that being LAFC, Vancouver Whitecaps, or Club Tijuana. We needed Tijuana to win, to host, right? Win in regulation, and then we could have played against Vancouver Whitecaps if Tijuana had won in penalties. Ultimately, Club Tijuana, Jolos, as they are known, they take the L. And I will shout out our buddy Mason, who sent us in the group chat a little meme, so we went ahead and posted that. So Mason just helping us out all over the place. You, myself, a couple buddies went out to play some darts, you know, one of your favorite weekend pastimes there, and started watching this match. And Tijuana, right off the rip, 8th minute, scores the opener. So we are feeling great. We're getting ready. We're like, all right, we're going to be at the queue on Wednesday. They go into the half, 1-0. And then fairly quickly out of the half, Vancouver equalizes. And then the Jolos keeper takes a shot point blank to the face, gets stretchered off. So, like, best wishes to him. Hopefully it wasn't as bad and as rough as it looked. And right after that, backup keeper gives up another goal. Then they give up a dog-so red card, and ultimately a third goes in. So a 3-1 victory for Vancouver, which means, like you said earlier, Austin FC will travel to BMO Stadium to take on LAFC. And this is, again, right, this is just another reason why Leagues Cup should play at least some of these matches in Mexico. Because, you know, I know there are a couple other reasons, but, like, this is why, to me, the major reason why the tiers are in place for the knockout rounds, right? Because then it sets who is going to host. Because if we matched up with a Mexican league team, right, and we can't go to their place, then we're hosting, and then there's confusion if there's two MLS teams, so they keep these tiers in there, and it does not make sense to me. And I know I'm not the first person to say that, but I was complaining, bitching about this to you when we first found out, I think early Wednesday morning, about these tiers, maybe late Tuesday night. It's just like, I totally get, quote unquote, penalizing a team like Austin, who was bad, flat out bad last year in the group stage with that draw, right? You get drawn into a group with Pumas and Monterrey, two of these Liga MX giants, right? And then when you, against all odds, beat both of those teams, it's not a reward at all. Because even if it wasn't LAFC on the other side, you're still going on the road. And that doesn't, I haven't seen anybody argue in favor of how this is structured, right? So I get why it is like this, but I really hope that, like you mentioned earlier, in future iterations of this cup, because you and I are such fans of the competition itself, to elevate this competition by hopefully straightening some of those things out. Because, again, it's just flat out does not feel right that Austin is it fair to say, like, we're penalized for this now? It feels like it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like you said, I'm with you there, where if you're a club like us last year and you're terrible, you have to be in one of these groups with these, you know, these much better teams. Just so happened that we got two of the Liga MX powerhouses there, but we shocked the world, you know. And there's not any time we can spend on this, you know, like not us, Austin FC.
Right.
Like we can't worry about this. We were up against all odds in the group stage. We were able to overcome, and now you're going to have another test here that is one that might not be quote unquote fair, but you got to go up to LAFC and you're going to see if you can get the job done. And that, you know, it is what it is. It's not perfect, but we can't worry about that.
Yeah. And again, it's. I still don't think we expect a lengthy run here in the knockout rounds, but I'm certainly going to grow more and more excited the further this team can go along here.
And it's a good litmus test here, we've been
Exactly.
asking, like, we're trying to figure out where this team is. Obviously,
Yeah.
we have this great Leagues Cup run. Once we get back into MLS play regular season, we are in 10th, and we have a long ways to go to secure our spot in the playoffs, which has been the mission for this season all along. And it's a tough road. We have some tough matchups. We're going to see this LAFC team again. We're going to have to go play the Galaxy in LA and Carson. So, like, this is going to be a good litmus test for me to see where we're actually at. You'll probably, all fingers crossed again, you hopefully get more than 30 minutes with Bukhari and Seba out there. So, like, we can see ourselves at full strength. And I expect a choice 11 going up there to BMO Stadium.
Well, I know you're on the match preview article at the northendpodcast.com this week. So the only thing I will add before I let you kick things off here for a more detailed preview is injury report for LA seems to be almost empty. Timothy Tillman has been out with a leg injury. I think at best for LA, he would be questionable coming into this one. In all likelihood, I think closer to the doubtful side because the timeline that I've seen for that injury is mid-August. Of course, this game on the 7th. I don't think we see Timothy Tillman, which we will take. But as we know, this team extremely loaded. They just got more loaded in the last couple days. So talk to us a little bit more about LAFC.
Well, if you're an MLS fan, you're very well aware of this team and the quality that they possess up and down their roster. Let's start with their talisman, Bouanga. 25 goal contributions on the season, 16 goals with 9 assists. That includes the good old hockey assist coming from not from FOTMob. Where's
that from the MLS site? Yeah,
just okay.
MLS counting the hockey assist there. Yeah.
So, I mean, just adding to his total, the guy is absolutely incredible, one of the best players in the league. He gives us fits routinely. And like you said before, we're hoping that Bukhari eventually is this type of quality in this league going forward, where we have a guy who strikes fear into the opposition. Not to be outdone, Mateusz Bogusz, fantastic player as well. 19 goal contributions on the season. They pair him with Christian Oliveira as well, who's a Uruguayan national, 6 goal contributions, but he's starting to get a little hot here. Had all 3 goal contributions in their 3-0 win versus Tijuana to open up Leagues Cup. And then you just can keep going down this roster, and you see names like Ilie Sanchez, Aaron Long, Ryan Hollingshead, Jesus Murillo. Going to the net, you have Hugo Lloris, who, although is not necessarily having his best season, we understand the pedigree that he has and what he brings to that side in regard to quality goalkeeping. This is a team that we just don't match up with very well. They like
Who does?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, they like to institute a high press, which can be seen by their 220 turnovers, high turnovers. And I'm going to give the old Zac definition here of this stat. So it is a sequence that starts in open play and begins 40 meters or less from the opponent's goal. So basically what we're talking about here is a turnover that resulted in possession going forward with little space to get towards the goal. Now, they haven't necessarily been too efficient in regard to translating those turnovers into goals. For example, Austin FC has 122 of those high turnovers that we just mentioned there. We've converted those into 2 goals. LAFC has converted their 220 into 2 goals. So it's not necessarily a good stat to look at because right? Of course they can score. They're able to generate a lot of goals, as was seen by their leading shots on target per match. This team is just able to generate chances in a variety of ways, whether it's turning you over or just getting out into open field, letting Bouanga, letting Oliveira, letting Bogusz go, and generate stuff. I'm pretty sure that they're second in the league in big chances created this season. So we understand the quality of this team. And as you mentioned, knowing that they're loaded already, the rich have gotten richer, bringing over Olivier Giroud, who is the all-time leading scorer in French international play. So they got that going for them as well. And I'll pass it off to you if you have anything else to add about this very illustrious club that we're about to face.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you said when you're talking about the high turnovers, right, in relation to their press and like how inefficient they've been is not good.
No.
Because we know that they can convert at a higher rate than that. We've seen it firsthand before. Yeah, Olivier Giroud, like, of course he's going to be available. This hasn't been confirmed yet, but his welcome presser was on Thursday, right? So 3 days ago. Then yesterday on Saturday, LAFC puts out a lengthy montage from training where Giroud, at first, I was like, okay, like he's playing kickabout, kind of just doing the non-contact drills. So maybe he doesn't suit up on Wednesday. And then the last like minute of that little highlight reel is him in contact drills. So I think it would be pretty shocking to see him start.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think we're going to get hit with Olivier Giroud off the bench, and that does not feel great.
No, not at all. And, as I was going down the list of players that they have on this team, the one thing that they were really missing was some true class at the 9. Obviously, they have Kai Kamara, but he's in the twilight of his career, 39 years old. They've been searching for a 9 to come in and give them that type of class that they need. And they have found it here with Olivier Giroud. We'll go back to June 19th when we hosted LAFC. And we get a goal from Jader Obrian in the 19th minute of that game, and then basically play them pretty even throughout the rest of that match. And then Kai Kamara at the death, 90th minute, header off of a cross, puts it past Stuver. Really nothing we could have done there to stop that. Kai is fantastic in the air. End up with a 1-1 draw that we did feel really good about, and that was the last game before we saw this really difficult run of play form from our 10. And he was really, really great in this LAFC game. And with Seba, man, I feel like we've noticed that when we play bigger teams and we play higher quality opponents, he tends to step his game up a little bit more. So I'm hoping that is in play here when we go up to play them on Wednesday, because we're definitely going to need it. Yeah,
man. And again, it's like Christian Oliveira was out at the Copa America when we played them last, right? Giroud was not here. But we were shorthanded as well, right? We did not have Danny. We did not have Julio. We did not have any of our summer additions either. And I believe the Kamara goal, if I recall correctly, was their only shot on target that night.
Yes.
So again, we also know the stark difference between our form at home this year and Austin FC on the road in 2024. But again, with this team now, Austin being more fully healthy, we've got our 3 additions, and maybe we're going to see Alexander Svatok available to actually play in this one. It's a different team. Both sides have big differences from when we last met in the middle of June. I did want to note, as you were talking about some of those big names in their attack, Mateusz Bogusz has been on fire lately, dude. In his last 14 games, 15 goal contributions. 15 in 14 games. And this is the wingman to Denny Bouanga. It's insane how much these guys can generate. And the fact that they've done it, to my knowledge, I think, again, with the open DP spot throughout the first 2/3 of the year is just incredible. And now at the Giroud press conference, we're getting more. He's throwing more fuel on the Antoine Griezmann to LAFC fire. No matter, it does seem like that's going to happen sooner rather than later, considering Giroud is also up there in age, and it's crazy to see like the difference between a guy like Giroud and even Kai Kamara, who is still extremely dangerous. He's got 6 goal contributions now, I believe, on the season. So he's been really good over the last month and a half, because the goal he scored against us, I believe, was his first of the season. But the difference between those two guys as well, like, the rich getting richer here.
I mean, if they get Griezmann, it would break my heart. He's my favorite.
I know, that's your boy.
It's my favorite player. If they get him, I don't know what I'll do. I might have to, request a trade to LAFC as well.
Well, good thing I put a no trade clause into your contract. So
darn it.
LAFC in the group stage, I mean, beat the absolute brakes off Tijuana, and we didn't, unless you've been getting in some secret Leagues Cup film. I don't think you watched that either, but we watched Tijuana play Vancouver last night without Ryan Gauld. Tijuana, not a very good team at the moment. That was back on the same night that we defeated Puma, so Friday after this last one. They did rotate slightly against Vancouver in the midweek. Dueñas and Ordaz started, and those guys are more than capable backups, especially for their age, 19 and 20, respectively. Edward Atuesta came off the bench against Vancouver, and Lloris actually rotated out in favor of Abraham Romero in that game, right? Went down 2-0 in the first 17 minutes. Kamara goal in the 88th. Bogusz in the 5th minute of stoppage time. Vancouver takes the PK shootout. But like you mentioned earlier, too, the return of Christian Oliveira from the Copa America has been a huge boost to an already elite attacking front. I was interested, too, because if you remember back to that June match when we drew LAFC, one of our big things coming out of that, as bad as that draw felt, because we were up in stoppage time, right?
Yep.
That was the first game, I think, in an 8-game stretch where they had won 8 straight games over all competitions. You can extend that out. It was a 14-game sample. They had 13 wins in all competitions and 1 draw to Austin FC. So this is the type of quality side that we are going to their house. And it has not been good the last 2 times we went to their house, right? We had the surprise win back in April of 22, the Rabona assist from Seba to Diego Fagundes to put that one away, and then clinching extra hard to close that one out. But 3-0 losses back-to-back, Western Conference Final 2022, and then the shellacking April of last season, Denny Bouanga hat trick. LAFC did show a little, like, they are mortal here. They did get, they got drubbed 5-1 at home, but that was the Columbus Crew, and there were multiple red cards in that match. Then they drew RSL at home 1-1, no Chicho in that one for Real Salt Lake. So it was okay, maybe they're going to falter a little bit here going in to the League's Cup break. Nope, 3-0 victory on the road over Seattle to go into the break. So again, this team, in my opinion, still really firing on all cylinders. And I think that outside of Tillman, I expect them to have a full complement of players, but I think we do as well.
I agree. And that Tillman loss, I understand that they have guys that they can rotate in, but he is somebody who does a lot of the dirty kind of work for them and then gets the ball out to those dangerous wingers and lets them get into space and everything like that. So I do think that loss creates a bit of a void for them. But as you mentioned, I mean, they're sitting on 47 points right now, 2nd in the West, but they have 2 games in hand on the Galaxy. So you're looking at essentially the best team in the Western Conference, if not the league. And it's we understand how Austin has looked on the road. I know that we've had these 2 really impressive performances at home with these new guys in and the full kind of weight of our roster behind us. But how this team looks on the road is yet to be seen with these new players in the fold. So that is a big question mark for me. Are we going to be playing that super ultra conservative style now that we are a bit more talented? I'm not sure. I think maybe if it was an opponent of lesser quality, you might see that. But with this team, you might not see that. But with this team, it may be our best chance to just trying to go in there, muck this game up as much as possible, see if we can potentially get to a PK shootout and roll the dice there with Stuver versus Lloris in the net. So it's going to be a tall task, a big challenge. But as I said before, I'm up for this. This is a good way to see where we're actually at without it being on the line in regard to our playoff standing. We said before we didn't have any delusions of grandeur that this team was going to make this deep Leagues Cup kind of run here. While I've come off of the 0% chance that we could have done that given our showing in the group stage, it's still a lofty dream for us to make a big run here, particularly with how we've seen it play out in regard to if we're going to get a home match or not, because I know you have a couple scenarios to go through in regard to how we could end up back at Q2, but they don't seem very likely.
Yeah. Well, so we can get that out of the way because I don't think we should really be looking ahead, right? But just for those that want to know, I believe that the way the games have worked out to this point, again, we're still finishing up the group stage. I think we could be on the road, again, assuming advancing out of LA here. We could be on the road to Seattle or Minnesota, I believe, are the two teams. And then Chivas Guadalajara could come to Austin if they were to advance, which would be the Hernan Derby there, I think, with Chivas and Austin FC. So add that to the list of reasons why I would love to host another Liga MX side. But going back to talking about us in this one, a couple questions just to discuss here before we get to, well, one question before I have some lineup questions. Mm-hmm. We do have to see this team again in September. The way the bracket is shaping up for potential MLS Cup playoffs, this could very well be our first round opponent where it's a best 2 out of 3. Do you, as Josh Wolf and the coaching staff, hold anything back now in favor of maybe, keeping some bullets in the chamber, so to speak, for maybe a result we need? We certainly want points out of any league match, but it's going to get more and more crucial the closer we get to October, and then of course the potential first round. Do you think that's a little bit like overthinking it at this point of the year?
Yes, I think if the roles were reversed and we were the higher quality club, then you could kind of go with that strategy here. But I don't think that we're going to have too many bullets in the chamber that we could just bust out versus this team that's going to, level the playing field to a point where it makes sense to not try to go for this right now. I think you want to see, like I said before, like this is a good litmus test for us. I think you want to see how we match up when we're playing our style at full strength and then gauge it from there and see what it looks like. And then take the lessons from that game, good or bad, and then eventually apply them once we have to play them in the regular season with potential matchups in the playoffs looming as well. So no, I would not try to get a little cute here and hold some stuff back. You got to see what you're actually made of. You got to see what you're actually about. And this is the premier team in the Western Conference to do that against, and they also have lofty, high expectations for their season. They were the #1 seed in those tier rankings for MLS. So, the favorite, they should be expected to be in the Final Four, at least in my opinion. So they're the ones who have a bit of a pressure on them from my perspective here. We're coming in with house money. Nobody expected us to beat Rayados. No one expected us to beat Pumas. We were able to beat both of them. So let's see where we're really at versus this team, how we match up, and then try to take the lessons from this game, no matter the result, and apply them when, I don't want to say when it actually matters, because this 100% matters, but when it actually matters in regard to the MLS season and this team's goal since the start of the season.
Yeah. No, I like what you said there, because I think it is house money right now, right?
Yep.
Any matchup. This is an extra 90 minutes that none of us thought we were going to have. I think the only people that thought we were going to have them are in that locker room.
Yep.
Right? So 2 questions here, lineup-wise. Again, we expect to have the full complement of players available to the coaching staff for selection. So, Bukari, who's the other winger?
I'll say Johnny. I think you're going to need that kind of defensive balance that he provides, that Hot Air doesn't necessarily have, obviously, because Hot Air does not have the experience playing in a wing-back, full-back position. Right. I think you're going to need that versus this team. We understand the speed. We understand how quick they can flip things around. They're not a team who likes to possess the ball a lot. They want to get out, they want to go, and they want to put you on your back heel. So I like Johnny there on the opposite side.
I like that. I think I'm with that. We've had, by the time we kick off Wednesday night, over a full week off. So I'm not super worried about John. He's Iron Man, right? If we want to be able to move him back to one of those fullback spots, I can totally see that Osman might not be ready because he only got 30 or 28 minutes before that foul was whistled on him, sent off a couple minutes later, couldn't play the second group stage match. If he's not ready for more than 65, 70 minutes, I think I totally get that. And then being able to bring Obi off the bench and let him run wild, that verticality, right, for 25, 30 minutes, that sounds pretty good to me. Ultimately, not upset whoever starts opposite Osman, but I do think I'm with you that John would be my pick if I was in charge of selecting this starting group. Then the center back pairing. We saw Julio and Matt Hedges split duties next to Brendan Heinzike against Rayados. Heinzike, again, I think is the mainstay here. I would be pretty surprised to not see him, but I think the other spot is, an open competition at this point, it feels like. So who would be your second center back to slot in?
I don't think Svatak is going to start, but I do want to see him get some time here. This is as much as of a shitty draw as this is. It is a bit of a gift in regard to getting these extra 90 minutes to try to acclimate all of these new guys in and get them more familiar with playing one another. So I do hope Svatak sees some time. But I'm going to go ahead and say Julio would be my choice here to pair with BHI. They before Copa and everything like that, they had been super stout all season long, and I thought they were developing some good chemistry. We have options there, but that's what I would go with.
Yeah, I think it's Julio for me as well. But again, I would expect, especially if you're able to get this into the early to mid second half, either level or maybe steal a goal. You never know how that game might play out, getting a bounce here or there. I definitely want to see, if you're trying to defend, again, a draw or a lead at the end, go to that 5-back, put Svatak right in the middle there and throw him into the fire. If it was a league match, maybe exercise a little bit more caution, but I think that's where I saw him at the Euros, and he was so good against Belgium that, that's where I want to see him if we're trying to defend a lead and we go to that 5-back, which we've seen, again, lately working more often than not. I think really the last time it didn't work was against LAFC.
Yep. And I mean, if they're going to go ahead and put Giroud on with 15 minutes to go or something like that, I'd love to see him matched up as Svatak. Giroud, for those who aren't overly familiar, fantastic in the air, bigger kind of striker with a lot of class in regard to his touch. And we saw what Svatak did in the Euros where he was matched up versus Lukaku. Kind of had a man-to-man, and that was his mark and that was who he was guarding. So I'd love to see that matchup in the potential waning moments of this game here, when it could really be on the line. Like you said, if it's a draw and I'm content to play for that draw and kind of roll the dice in the PKs, or if we're within striking distance and, want to keep this game close. So we'll see. I just do hope that Svatak gets his time out there.
I think only we could sit here and preview this Leagues Cup round of 32 match that doesn't even have a kickoff time yet for over half an hour. So before we wrap it up, one little exercise that right before we hit record, we kind of thought of, sketched out our thoughts. If we do get to a penalty shootout, right? I was saying, I think I favor us because I know they have a lot of offensive firepower, right? But once you get to that spot, I feel like that can be not an equalizer, but I think you benefit more from having the upper hand in net rather than the guys taking the penalties in my eyes. And again, small margins there, but who would be, if you Coach E here, you got to bring your 5 out there to go up against Hugo Lloris. Who are your 5 Austin FC players you're picking and in what order?
Okay. I'll start with 10 for sure.
Okay. We are in alignment there.
If we make it to a level score by the end of this game, I'm assuming Buka is not out there.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I like you said, I don't expect him to have a full 90, so I'm going to have to leave him out solely because I don't think, if this scenario plays out the way it would, or the way it could, that he would actually be on the field. But if he were, he would be my second choice. But okay, let's go 10 to start. Then I think I'd want to. Man, it's tough sledding. I think
we haven't seen really anybody, right? Take pens outside of Seba and Alex.
Yep, I think one of the strikers would get it, and I think my preference would go to Rubio.
Okay.
So I'd slot Diego in there at 2. Give me Biru, man. I know I haven't seen it, but we've seen him take a free kick or 2 free kicks at this point, right? Has he gotten 2 or just 1? Regardless, sure. It looked good. I don't think he's a guy who's ever afraid of the moment. So that's something that I want in somebody who's going to be at the spot. I'll take Alex Ring as well, given that, not afraid of the moment. And you slot him in there at the 4th spot. And then, man, it's hard not to want to say Dessler just because you know the quality that he has.
Yeah.
And I know that puts us with two fullbacks out there. But from what I saw from the Copa America, sometimes that might be the right call to have those guys go up there and take those kicks. So give me Dessler at 5.
Okay, nice. I've good point by you on Osman. I had him second, and you said that would be your second as well. But I think that's a point well taken. He's probably not out there, and so I had him second. Who I would replace him? I think I would go to one of the strikers. I think a good point by you that I think G starts, and I don't think we get 90 minutes of Zardes. We know he can, right? But I think you're probably getting Rubio in there for him. So I'll put Rubio second. I had Giroud third. I have Danny fourth, right?
Okay.
Danny has been hot lately, just scored last match. I think reward that confidence in my eyes. I had Alex Ring will go captain fifth to finish it off. I did think about Dessler, though. I definitely sat there and thought about Dessler, but gave the nod to Danny. So I would, and again, I think our biggest advantage is having Brad Stuver in net because all of the shot stopping metrics point to Stuver being better this season than Hugo Lloris, despite the latter getting the coach's pick, I think, into the All-Star game. A little name value there. Anything else for you on this one? And if not, how much is Austin FC winning by in LA on Wednesday night?
Well, since we've gone through that little exercise there, I'll go ahead and say 1-1 draw. Austin wins in PKs.
Okay, nice. I will go 2-2 draw. Austin wins in PKs.
All right.
And man, I am excited for we have the Scared Money Derby with FCito. We can just call this the House Money Derby, and it'll be every round until we get knocked out of or win the League's Cup.
There we go.
Excited to see these guys again. The fact that we get another chance to get Osman out there, potentially Svatak on the field, Dessler, the other teammates working in and around these guys, some players working into new roles, right? New types of roles with these new additions. So even if they don't come out on top, again, I think this is just a great opportunity for the club, considering what we know is coming once this competition is over.
Like you said, dude, I am also very excited. I don't know how long that excitement might last once we kick off, but
right.
The good things about this matchup are here. They're right in front of us. We have more time to get our guys acclimated. You get to go up against a very high quality opponent as opposed to running your 11s in practice where we're integrating FCito guys and like this quality is something that allows us again to gauge where we are. And I am all for it. I know that the guys are going to embrace the challenge. They've embraced the underdog mentality this entire League's Cup thus far up until this point. So let's go ahead and roll the dice, see what happens. And honestly, where we're sitting at, we have nothing. We don't have anything to lose. Nobody thought we were going to be here. So we have absolutely nothing to lose. The pressure is on LAFC. Let's go roll the dice, see what happens in this matchup. I'm excited for it. It's more Austin soccer, and you can't be mad at that.
Yeah. I forgot to give you props on that take too earlier, that all the pressure is on them.
Yeah.
It is not on Austin. This is probably a 9:30 kickoff Central Time. Probably. I would love an 8:30, just because for our own purposes of being able to go to sleep on a Wednesday night after that. But also, 6:30 kick in LA. Stands might be a little bit more sparse than they otherwise would be if we can get the early Pacific time zone start out there. So with that, let's move on. Real quick, let's check in on
the best keeper in the world.
So Louisville City, coming off the friendly loss in the midweek to Frankfurt, went on the road to take on New Mexico United last night. Damian Las back in net for Louisville City FC, and they do get the 1-0 victory, so clean sheet for Damian, saved all 4 shots that came his way, 10 recoveries as well. You love to see it. It seems like he has been on a high lately again after, going through some ups and downs throughout the course of this season. And of course the team with another 3 points, now 47 points from their 21 league matches. Congrats to the team. Congrats to Damian.
Yep, that's quality right there for sure. And we were bummed that he wasn't going to get his chance versus Frankfurt, right? Was that
Yep.
That he didn't get his chance there, and they rotated. But it's good to see that he was still mentally prepared, mentally in the right space, went out there, did his job, secured another clean sheet for the season. That Louisville team just keeps on rolling.
So FCito was in action against North Texas SC on Friday night. Out at the pitch, lineup comes out. No, Micah Burton. I believe the word was that he picked up a minor knock during the week. Nothing to be concerned about, but they held him out of this one. So you mentioned Diego Abarca and saying, what he's a striker, right? And I was like, no, it's midfielder. Abarca does get the start up top here against North Texas. So Estradamus in full effect. Marcus Alstrup was back in net. You've got Sal and Tony Gomez as the center back pairing. Ruben on the left, Shaik on the right. Alonso with the armband next to Steve Louis-Jean and Irvin Torres. CJ and Jimmy on the wings. Diego up top. On the bench, Gavin Wolf, Chris, and Anthony Garcia. Sebastian Pignot makes his return to the lineup. Again, on the bench, Anthony De Anda, Aaron Cervantes, Bobo, Ariano, and Nico Van Rijn. So this one gets started early on, 6th minute here, Ian. I was able to watch the majority of this, missed kind of the second part of the first half, but caught all the action here early on in the 6th minute. North Texas turns us over at the back, and Marcus Alstrup rushes out to meet that North Texas forward who is all alone just inside the edge of the box. And that player slots it past Marcus, but saved out of the open net by Sal. Big time play there in early minutes.
Sal maintaining his form. We saw what he brought to the table last year. It really came onto the scene and looked fantastic. And now he's kind of the leader of that defensive unit with the departure of Captain Joe. So, this was a contested matchup, two teams. Again, it's been interesting with these Texas teams in FCito to see how much they genuinely don't like each other. But we pull 4 yellows, 5?
Yeah, something like that. It was it was hotly contested down the stretch, especially.
And, man, I'm excited, but also just disappointed with how long it's taken for this team to get a full bench, their choice 11 out there. And you see now with Jimmy and CJ and Lonzo and these guys trying to build this continuity, but the hole that we've dug has been, mighty up until this point. But we get some good news here in this game coming up shortly.
Yeah, 10th minute. Jimmy runs down a ball like right out by the right sideline, so the far sideline from the broadcast camera, right outside the North Texas penalty area. And then he sees he's one-on-one, so he's going to take on his defender. Then he sees Shaik Touré, who made a run into the box, lays it off to him, and Shaik kind of turns at the end line, squares a ball right back towards the 6-yard box that finds the feet of Irvin Torres, and Irvin does a great job to slot it home at that near post for the opening goal. So encouraging play out of Jimmy there to make the right pass. Touré, good bit of skill to pick out Irvin, and then Irvin with the calm finish. We've got the lead, and even the announcer saying maybe an upset brewing here because, again, this is the first-place team in the Western Conference, giving up the least amount of goals in the league.
Yep, and with Irvin, you'd love to see this because it feels like he's the next guy that we're really trying to develop here. And it feels like he's getting a bit more of attention. You saw the call up it was for the Leagues Cup.
He's on the Leagues Cup roster.
For the Leagues Cup roster and everything like that. So fantastic to see that hard work paying off and a great passage of play here, starting with Jimmy, his speed, his ability to take guys one-on-one, and then getting that distribution hockey assist for a nice goal to start us off here in the 10th.
22nd minute here, North Texas gets out on a counter, through ball to Herbert Ndeli. Again, that's one of those supplemental guys for the FC Dallas first team, and man, did he show it right here. Takes that ball by himself from midfield all the way to the right side of the Austin 18. Ruben Bonachera catches up to him, and Ndeli cuts inside, curls one. Good, maybe even a great shot here past Marcus Alstrup to tie things up at 1. So the lead short-lived. But again, I think here it's just kind of credit to Ndeli because that was like that. it's like that CJ level play where you see the guy come down from the first team and you can tell he's a first team guy.
Yep, just looks a little different out there. Not much Alstrup could do with this one. I thought he played a solid game, and he has been solid as of late. Just a really great strike and good individual performance here by Endele.
I think Indele, I think, is what they were saying on the broadcast. But again, the next pro broadcasts are they are like no better than I am with some of these pronunciations. They call Steve Louis Jean sometimes.
Nice. Also, the ghost of Santillan was apparently out there.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they still haven't updated that roster slot there. So when I mentioned missing the end of the first half, this is where I'm not sure what happened. After the half, Nico Van Ryn comes in for Alonso Ramirez. So I don't know if Alonso got hurt or not. Again, I missed that. So somebody who did see that part of the match can reach out in the comments and let me know just for clarification. Because again, there's just not a lot of coverage around FCito outside of the Northland podcast, So this was an interesting alignment here. Shaikh Touré goes to that center defensive mid spot where Alonso typically is. Van Ryn slots in at center back, and Antonio Gomez was playing right back the rest of the night. So again, it's not ideal here. And a couple notes to get through, but ultimately you go through this second half and don't concede another goal to the first place team with this somewhat makeshift alignment in the defense. And I think that's a credit to the guys who were out there.
For sure. I'd love some clarification on it because I don't know why it's not Bobo 1-for-1 there for Alonso. Maybe that's just my Bobo homerism, coming into play for sure. But it just seems like that would have been the most logical choice here. But we leave that to the coaches. And
yeah, for sure. So 2 notes here and then a couple subs for Austin. 53rd minute, CJ gets a ton of space, and then the defense continues to not close him down, so he just progresses his way into the 18 from that customary left side. He picks out Diego Abarca about 8 yards out. Great ball by CJ. Diego here just scuffs it. Wasn't his best showing in this moment, out for a goal kick, but again, CJ just continuing to flash.
Yep, generating chances for his teammates. We love to see that kind of stuff, and it's hard to say that if isn't Pignot, that we're not looking at a 2-1 lead here.
It's a good call. So that's why I want to know about Sebas, because is it an injury? Is it something else that's going on? Right. Yep. Like we've seen him in and out of the lineup really since he got here last year, right? There's been sustained periods where no reported injury, but Pignot nowhere to be found. So he comes in at the very end here. 67th minute, Brian Ariano comes in for Diego Abarca. And then 73rd minute, Ariano and Jimmy get away on a counter down the right. Brian plays a really good ball to send Jimmy through. Jimmy takes a shot, goes into the side netting, and then you can see CJ arriving a couple moments later. CJ wanted that cross to the back post. Indeli had him pretty well covered, but I do think CJ has a point there, because if you're putting it across, it would be tough for Indeli to really clear that out. There's a danger of him putting it in his own net there. So I think, to me, what stood out in the second half, the few chances we did have, it was either CJ creating or CJ putting himself into a spot to be dangerous and be available for his teammates there. And I don't begrudge Jimmy for taking that shot at all. We've seen him score, I think, goals like that, or at least be dangerous from a tough angle.
That was a good matchup between CJ and Indele there. That was fun.
Yeah, that's a good point. 84th minute, you get Chris Garcia in for Jimmy. And then in the 4th minute of stoppage, 5 were given. Pignot does come in for Irvin Torres. Again, I'd imagine, right, for the shootout there. And we do get the final whistle. So for the 9th time this season, that is MLS Next Pro leading 9 draws for Austin FC 2. 2 and 6 in those shootouts coming in. In the shootout, Austin hits their first 4 shots. So we went CJ, Shaikh, Ruben, and then Sebastian Pignot. And then Ama Korcha puts his off the crossbar. So Austin's got a chance to win. Korcha came in late as well. He's one of those supplemental guys for the Dallas first team. Antonio Gomez is 5th. And little hesitation. It's easy to say after the fact, right? Because this is ultimately saved. So it looked like after the fact. The hesitation maybe cost him, let the keeper get a little bit of a jump. But then we go into the 6th round. Alstrup guesses right. In the 5th, Alstrup guesses right. North Texas shot gets past him still. gets a touch to it. So we go to the 6th round. Brian Ariano slots his in, rolls it in to the left, and then Marcus makes the game-winning save in round 6 to secure the 2nd point. So that's about the bare minimum we can get from a home match at this point. We still remain with just 1 home victory on the season. And again, we're on 21 points now, so we're in 11th, 7th place. The town is on 30 points, and 3 teams between us and the town in 7th. We just got a lot of work. We have our work cut out for us to get up to that spot, and it's got to be. There's 10 matches remaining. I believe it's a 5-5 split remaining here for FCTO, but all these home matches, man, have to be 2 points or more.
Yep, you got to start racking these points up, and credit to Alstrup, man. That's good for him. I'm fantastic. I'm really amped about the fact that he was able to get that big save to close us out here and get us the extra point. But we got to start getting some wins here. We need 3 points.
Yep. So next up, going up to play Timbers 2. That one will be at Providence Park, right? So playing in the big stadium up there in Portland. That is Thursday, 10 p.m. Central. So really just the sickos and diehards going to be tuning in to that one. That includes the North End. So we've got a little bit of a preview here for this. Timbers 2 currently 5 points ahead of Austin FC 2. They are in 9th, but Austin does have a game in hand. And as we're recording this, Tacoma and Loons 2 facing off. Tacoma's up 4-1, so they are going to extend their lead. They were on 30 points coming into the day. I think even though Minnesota is right on our butt, I think we wanted a Loons 2 win there to keep that 7 seed ceiling a little bit lower.
Yeah.
Either way, Timbers 2 coming up here on Thursday, again, 5 points ahead of us. They are led by Kyle Linares and his 8 goal contributions, 5 goals, 3 assists on the season. He's a 21-year-old forward. He is wearing the number 77 kit that OG Emmy Rigoni. Josh Penn, number 70, has got 5 goals and 1 assist, so tied with Linares in terms of their goal-scoring leader. He has 2 appearances with Inter Miami back in 2021. That was a different time for Inter Miami. 2 guys, I believe, that are on first-team supplemental deals. The one we are more likely to see, they haven't made a ton of appearances this year, but Tega Ekoba, 6'3", 20-year-old forward, again on the first-team supplemental. He's a homegrown for Portland. He's got 3 goals in just 4 starts. So, again, if you see Ekoba out there, that spells trouble for the Austin backline. Keyshawn Ferdinand, 6', 20-year-old defender, leading them in minutes. He's also a homegrown. And then Harvey Neville, we talked about him last time we saw Timbers 2. Phil Neville, the head coach of the first team, that is his son. He wears the number 68 for Timbers 2, and he actually leads the team in assists with 4. So there's a little mini scouting report for everybody. Again, this is a very big matchup in terms of the end of that playoff race here. 10 matches to go. I think you got to get at least a draw here. I think that 2-point threshold applies on the road right now as well.
Absolutely. Got to start making up ground as best we can.
All right. How much is Austin FC 2 winning by on Thursday?
Well, we are the least scoring offense in the Western Conference at 21 goals, so it's hard to say anything other than a goal on the road. So I'm going to go ahead and say 1-0. We do our job on the defensive side of the ball. Big game from Alstrup, and get those first 3 points to start, kind of get this push going. That's what I'm hoping for. Yeah.
I'm going to go 1-1 here. I'd love a 1-0 victory, but I think we get into our 10th penalty shootout. But again, I think it's a 3-6 record, but doing better of late in these. And I feel fine with Cervantes or Alstrup back there. I would think Marcus would get another nod here after his performance on Friday. But don't care how you get it done, boys. 2 or 3 points. We got to keep up in this playoff race. We will be watching on Thursday, 10 p.m. Central. And that'll do it for episode 165 of the North End podcast. We are back on Thursday recapping Austin FC's round of 32 matchup against LAFC and talking about everything else that happens in the Austin FC universe between now and then. Maybe we get some new transfer rumors. Maybe we get some actual transfers. We'll see. 10 days left in the summer transfer window. Anything else for you before we get out of here?
Let's go get this up in LA. Let's do this.
Yeah, gotta do it. All right. Enjoy the beginning of your week, everybody. We are still champions of West Group 1. We will do the same. And we will see everybody back here on Thursday for another edition of the North End Podcast. Until then, he's E, and I'm Zach. Vamos Austin FC, everybody. Goodbye.